Hey guys, what's going on? It's Devin from Baka Burrito, and I'm here with you guys today with another deck profile. This week is going to be BeeTroopers.
You like jazz?
Let's get started. Alright guys, so like I said, here for you guys today, I have BeeTroopers. Here is the main and extra, the usual. We're going to go ahead and get started right now. Alright, so to start off, we have 3 copies of BeeTrooper Sting Lancer. So for those of you who don't know, BeeTroopers are an insect combo deck, and what Sting Lancer does is during the main phase quick effect, you can target 1 insect monster in your graveyard and 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, place the targeted monsters on the bottom of the decks. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 BeeTrooper spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Sting Lancer once per turn. So he's really important, and it's really cool that he says during the main phase he's a quick effect, and you can use him during either player's turn. And that lets you search your trap card, which is very important for the deck, or the field spell card as well. So he's very good, very important to the deck. One thing I will say, this version happens to have no hand traps, but if I were running hand traps, I'd probably cut one of him for a copy of Ash. I'd run 3 Ash, and I'll let you know as we go on what cards I would substitute out for that. Okay? Next up, we have 3 copies of Resonance Insect. For the life of me, I cannot find my 3rd copy, and I didn't want to wait to get the deck profile out to you guys. But Resonance Insect is by far the best card in this deck. It says, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 level 5 or higher insect monster from your deck to your hand. If this card is banished, you can send 1 insect monster from your deck to the graveyard except Resonance Insect. So that's really good in the sense that you're able to add Sting Lancer once he is sent to the graveyard. And also you're able to send other insects to the graveyard, such as Goku Pull, or Goku Pull, however you say his name, and a few others as well. Any of your BeeTrooper cards, if they're sent to the graveyard, they can be revived with the field spell. So Resonance Insect actually helps continue plays. There are also some other things, I'll mention them as we go past, that can be revived with that effect. Next up, we have 3 copies of BeeTrooper Scout Buggy. He's excellent. You cannot special summon monsters except insect monsters. So that's only while he's face up. It's not like a continuous thing for the turn. That's important to note because there are some substitutions you can make in the extra deck that wouldn't really be hindered by using Scout Buggy. I wanted this deck to be a little more pure though. And then his other effect is, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon 1 BeeTrooper Scout Buggy from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and you can only use this effect of Scout Buggy once per turn. So he allows you to just continue. Most of this deck is just extenders on extenders, which is great. Next up, we have triple copies of Galaxy Worm. I really like Galaxy Worm. I notice not a lot of people are playing this. But if you want it, because of Galaxy Worm, you could run the Digital Bug Xyz monsters, because they're light level 3 insect monsters, which are the exact stat line of the Digital Bugs. And if you were going to run any of the Digital Bugs, Digital Bug Registrider, he's pretty good. He's a free special summon as well. Anyway, back to this. When this card is normal summoned while you control no other monsters, you can special summon 1 level 3 or lower Galaxy effect monster from your deck, but negate its effects. So you can pretty much summon Galaxy Worm to special summon another Galaxy Worm. I would move this to 2 along with Sting Lancer in order to fit in the hand traps of Ash Blossom. But yeah, that's up to you. I'm just doing this version as it stands right now. Next up is triple copies of Pin the Bullseye. If you control an insect monster, you can special summon this card from your hand during your main phase. You can inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each Battle Wasp Pin the Bullseye you control. You can only use each effect of Pin the Bullseye once per turn. So he's funny because he's a special summon. He's a free body. Once you have any other insect on the board, you just special summon him out. And then if for whatever reason you just have him on board, you can burn your opponent for 200, which can come up in time. I know it's a little scummy to win in time or win by burning, but hey, you have the tools, use them, why not? Also, the fact that he's level 1 is pretty cool for certain things I have in the extra deck. I'll go ahead and show you guys that in a moment. Next up is triple copies of Scale Bomber. So, Scale Bomber reads, if an insect monster is normal or special summoned to your field except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. When a monster your opponent controls activates its effects, quick effect, you contribute one insect monster, destroy it. So, if me reading that was unclear, when your opponent goes to activate a monster's effect, you contribute any insect monster you control to destroy the monster that's activating its effect. And then you can only use each effect of BeeTrooper Scale Bomber once per turn. Most of them are once per turns on their abilities and effects, but they're all so good. Notice how this one's also an extender. So, and he special summons off of normal or special summon. So that's really cool. And also to note, he's a level 3 as well. Next up is 3 copies of Primitive Butterfly. Truthfully, I would move this down to 1. In testing, I didn't love it that much, but I do like having at least 2, but for necessity's sake, you only need 1. But again, I have 3 here. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Once per turn, you can increase the levels of all insect monsters you currently control by 1. I would leave this at 3 if I were running any of the digital bugs, because then I could make the level 4, or the rank 4, or the rank 5 pretty easily. Other than that, Primitive Butterfly is just a Cyber Dragon-like extender. Nothing crazy, nothing too terrible either. I like him. Next, we have Sting the Poison at 3 copies. Easily one of the best cards in this entire deck. So, Battle Wasp Sting the Poison says, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Battle Wasp monster from your deck to your hand except Sting the Poison. Quick effect, you contribute 1 other insect monster, then target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn. You can only use each effect of Sting the Poison once per turn. So he's similar to, I almost want to say Imperm, but I'd go more along the lines of Effect Failure. But he can stay on the field when he's negating the effect. That's really good, especially with one of the cards in the extra deck being able to special summon him on the opponent's turn, and that second effect being a quick effect. That's great, so you can respond to the effect that you want to negate as well. So Sting the Poison at 3 copies, I wouldn't run this at any less than that. He can also help search out Pin the Bullseye, Arbalest, and Twinbow as well to continue some other plays. And it's also kind of important that he's a tuner in this build specifically. Next up, speaking of Twinbow, we have 3 copies. I would like to move this down to 2 for the 3rd Ash. However, he says, during your main phase, you could special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except insect monsters. You can only use this effect of Battle Wasp Twinbow the attacker once per turn. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. That second attack during each battle phase hardly ever comes up, but, it's good to have if it's a simplified game state, special summon, attack twice, that's 2,000 damage. That's not too bad, but the effect of him to special summon himself and also being a level 3 himself is great. He helps go into Link, Xyz, maybe some Synchros, we'll see. But yeah, I don't think you need the 3. One thing about this deck is that it kind of loses hard to Nibiru, so clearing up as much space as possible to fit in something like Crossout Designator or Called by the Grave for the cards that stop the combo I would highly recommend prioritizing. Alright, next up, we have one copy of Arbalest, the Rapid Fire. When he's normal summoned, you could target one level 3 or lower insect monster in your graveyard, special summon that monster in defense position. And then if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon one Battle Wasp monster from your hand or deck. You can only use this effect of Arbalest once per turn. So, the effect you'd use him for mostly is the on summon effect to special summon from the graveyard. Although I will say it doesn't happen often, but the second effect does come up sometimes in certain matchups. For example, like something against, like if you're against something like Unchained, that will come up a lot. Next up, one copy of Doomdozer. I'm thinking of adding in a copy of Aztecapede. That card is very good, but this one reads, this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by banishing 2 insect monsters from the graveyard. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, send 1 card from the top of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. That part doesn't matter. The part that matters is he's a free extender by banishing cards from the graveyard, which will also proc Resonance Insect because that is not a once per turn. Neither effect is once per turn. Next up, we have one copy of Metamorphist Insect Queen. She's an interesting card. So she cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by card effect. If another insect monster is on the field, your opponent cannot target insect monsters you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. At the end of the damage step, if this card attacked, you contribute 1 monster. This card can attack an opponent's monster again in a row. Once per turn during the end phase, you could special summon 1 insect monster token, Insect Earth, level 1, attack 100, defense 100. So, Metamorphist Insect Queen, although she's a little difficult to special summon, she gives a blanket protection to all of your insect monsters, which, again, if you haven't noticed, the entire deck is. So, I do like her at the 1 copy. There are some matchups where I find myself siding her out, so I recommend testing her out. I like her a lot, but, if you want to tweak this deck at all and you had to drop a spot, she's not a bad one to drop. It is what it is, you know what I mean? Next, we have one copy of Parasite Paranoid, which is a weird hand trap. So, it's a quick effect. You could target 1 face-up monster on the field, equip this card from your hand to that target. The equipped monster becomes an insect-type monster, cannot attack insect monsters. Also, its effects that activate by targeting an insect monster or monsters are negated. One thing to note about that is that includes itself because it has become an insect monster. Also, if you drop this card against prank kids, specifically, they kind of, no, sorry, not prank kids. Anything that requires a specific type, like Dragon Link, Parasite Paranoid kind of turns off their turn, unless they're running the generic, something generic. But yeah, that's cool. You can only use this effect of Parasite Paranoid once per turn. If this equipped card is sent to the graveyard, you could special summon 1 level 7 or higher insect monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. So you can special summon Metamorphist Insect Queen or Doomdozer. The thing about that is it doesn't really come up to too much. And I believe you can also summon Sting Lancer. Let me just double check. 3, 4, 7, yeah. So yeah, you could special summon Sting Lancer as well, and that would proc the effect as well. So I like Parasite Paranoid and Metamorphist Insect Queen at 1 each. Try it out. These are very underrated cards, especially in this deck. It's a deck that could run them, and you get a more traditional insect feel with the deck. But if you wanted to cut them, I guess they could be some of the cards that are in the side deck. I'll show those at the end. Next up, we have a singular copy of Goku Pull. He says if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 level 4 insect monster from your deck to your hand. Then if you added a normal monster, you could special summon it. Then you can destroy 1 monster on the field with attack greater than or equal to that special summon monsters. You can only use this effect of Goku Pull once per turn. The target for Goku Pull is Shiny Black Sea Squatter. I'm actually thinking of picking something lower because right now this duo only hits like problematic boss monsters, and like a lot of those have protection of some kind. Um, but yeah, Goki Pull's first effect, that's the effect you really want. You can add one level 4 insect monster from your deck to your hand. That comes up, you can add Arbalest, Shiny Black Sea Squatter, um, and Resonance Insect as well. Next up, we have one copy of Contact C. I'm not running Retaliating C, although a couple of the changes I might make will be adding 2 copies of Retaliating C. Maybe one, I haven't decided. I do like Retaliating C a lot, though. This one, however, Contact C, when your opponent normal or special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's side of the field in defense position. This card's controller cannot fusion, synchro, XCs, or link summon unless they use this card as material. This is the card that shuts down Prank Kids just straight up. It also hits some other decks, but yeah, the fact that you can run this in-house is kind of cool. And I also run a couple more copies in the side deck. And I am considering, like I said, Retaliating C because that does search it. Next, moving on to the spells. It's a very heavy monster lineup if you couldn't tell. Next up we have the spells. 2 copies of Cocoon of Ultra Evolution. This is to special summon Metamorphist Insect Queen. It says tribute 1 monster from either field equipped with an equip card, and if you do, special summon 1 insect monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 insect monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, then draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Ultra Evolution once per turn. So, Cocoon of Ultra Evolution is similar to Metal Foes Fusion in the sense that it allows you to draw a card after shuffling something back from the graveyard, but it also helps recur combo pieces, or even, for example, Contact C. You can just shuffle that back into the deck and then draw a card. So I like Ultra Evolution even if you're not summoning Metamorphist Queen, because you can discard it and then get the second effect instead. Moving on, we have 1 copy of Giant Ballpark and 1 copy of BeeTrooper Formation. Giant Ballpark, I think, will be coming out of the deck in exchange for at least 1 copy of Retaliating C. But, reading what it does. During damage calculation, if a player would take battle damage, you can make neither player take any battle damage from that battle. And if you do, send 1 level 4 or lower insect monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then, if you sent a normal monster this way, you can special summon any number of monsters with the same name as that monster from your hand, deck, and or graveyard. If a monster or monsters you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 insect normal monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Giant Ballpark once per turn. This would be better if I was running more Black Sea Squatter or multiple copies of a different normal insect monster. But this one's not bad because it can proc Resonance Insect as well. BeeTrooper Formation, however, says you can target 1 BeeTrooper monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot attack this turn. Also, you lose life points equal to its original attack. If a face-up insect monster you control is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 BeeTrooper token. Insect Earth level 3, attack 1000, defense 1000. You can only use each effect of Formation once per turn. So Formation is really cool because it's an extender every turn. You can bring back monsters from the graveyard like Scout Buggy to special summon more copies of Scout Buggy, and then go into more links, XCs, whatever you need. So this card is very good. And the downside is you are taking burn damage every time you use it. So I only recommend bringing back the stronger BeeTrooper monsters if you have absolutely no other choice. The next two cards are two copies of BeeTrooper Fly and Sting, the counter trap card. This card is nuts. This card says when your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a BeeTrooper monster, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. During the end phase, during your end phase, if this card is in your graveyard and you control an insect monster with 3,000 or more attack, you can banish one insect monster from your graveyard. Set this card. You can only use one BeeTrooper Fly and Sting effect per turn, and only once that turn. So the thing about this is, if you use the negation effect, you're not able to recur this at the end of the turn. However, the following turn you will be able to. And that's a hard once per turn, so if you have this one in the graveyard and this one on the field, if you use this one, you can't recur this. So, if anyone's confused about that card interaction. But this card is very good. It comes back. Truthfully, I've seen this card at 1. However, I don't want it to get hit with a DD Crow, so 2 copies is best for me. But you could try that out at whatever ratio you would like. That's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we have 2 copies of number 3, Cicada King, Insect level 3. Obviously requires 2 level 3 monsters. If the battle position of this card is changed, you can special summon 1 insect monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. When a monster on the field activates its effects, you can detach 1 material from this card, then target that monster, negate its effects, then make 1 insect monster on the field either gain 500 defense or change its battle position. You can only use each effect of Cicada King once per turn. So, if you special summon him in attack position and then for whatever reason he survives and the next turn you turn him into defense, you can get that first effect. Or, if the opponent activates a card effect, you can chain to activate his effect, turn himself into defense position, and then get both effects. So Cicada King is very good. I like him at 2. I could see him at 1 if I wanted a more generic extra deck, like if I wanted something like Apollosa or Apollosa or Access Code Talker. I don't have access to Access Code Talker. That's funny. But if I did, I would probably cut 1 copy of Cicada King. Next up, the standard Nightmare package, Unicorn and Phoenix. They don't really need too much introduction. Moving on, we have 3 copies of Armor Horn. This could be 2, like I said, for a copy of like Apollosa or whatever. However, it requires 2 insect monsters. You cannot special summon monsters except insect monsters. That's while he's face up, but if you get rid of him, you can go ahead and do that. You can only use each of the following effects of Armor Horn once per turn. During your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves normal summon 1 insect monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish 3 other insect monsters from your graveyard. Special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So for that second effect, it can actually be 3 copies of Resonance Insect, and you could activate each and every one of them, which is kind of crazy. And then, as for the other effect, it's a free normal summon. I will say, if you are choosing to activate this card, like if you're practicing online, and you're choosing to activate that card, and you have a copy of Sting Lancer in your hand, you will have to tribute for the normal summon. It's not like it's a free normal summon where you don't have to tribute, so be careful what you have in your hand when you're trying to activate that for whatever reason. Next up is 2 copies of Injector Picofileno. Also requires 2 insects. If this card is link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 other insect monster you control. Equip 1 insect monster from your deck to it as an equip spell that gains this effect. The equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense. The attack gain actually does come up sometimes for a Fly and Sting, because it just requires that you have an insect monster with 3,000 or more attack. So there's a few options that will be over that threshold in order to revive the trap card. You can target 3 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, then draw 1 card. You can only use each effect of Picofileno once per turn. So she is a hard once per turn, but she's probably one of the best extenders in this deck. The only requirement is you need to have another copy or another insect monster on the field. Okay? Next up, 2 copies of Invincible Atlas. I was going to read the whole name, but it doesn't matter. It's a Link 4, requires 2+ insect monsters, so you can use a copy of Picofileno and a copy of Armor Horn to go ahead and go into Invincible Atlas. While this Link Summon card has 3,000 or less attack, your opponents cannot target this card with effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You cannot special summon monsters except insect monsters. You can tribute 1 insect monster, then activate one of these effects. Special summon 1 BeeTrooper from your deck, or this card gains 2,000 attack until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Invincible Atlas once per turn. So he's really cool because he has just ingrained protection as long as he's 3,000 or less attack, and that part does matter a lot. Because if he goes and uses the effect to gain 2,000, he no longer has protection, so your opponent can go ahead and just start targeting him. So I highly recommend not using that effect until you know that you could close out the game. The other thing I wanted to mention is his protection is also tied to him being link summoned. So if he's brought back from the grave or banished, whatever, he no longer has that protection either. So you're pretty much free to just go and make him into a 5,000 beat stick. Also, don't forget that if you tribute another insect, you can go ahead and special summon another BeeTrooper, which could be Sting Lancer, which could put you 600 shy from closing out a game. Sorry, not 600 shy, but you'd be at, what's that, 54 damage. So you're pretty close to closing out a game if you had another body on board as well. That could just straight up be an OTK in an open or a simplified game state. Next up, I have Shinobi Insect Hagakuremino. He requires 2 monsters with different names, so he's kind of generic if you wanted to run something in the main deck that wasn't an insect. But it says, while this card points to a monster, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. If a monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower insect monster from your hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of Hagakuremino once per turn. Really cool card. Doesn't come up all the time, but I'd rather have the effect or have access to the effect than not. Next up, 1 Seraphim Papillon. Requires 2 monsters with different names. Gains 200 attack for each counter on it. You can only use one of the following effects of Papillon per turn, and only once that turn. If this card is link summoned, place 1 counter on this card for each insect monster used as its materials. Often I make it with Injector, Picofileno, and then 1 other card, or 1 Armor Horn and 1 other card. That way he'd come up with 2, or she or it, whatever it is, would come up with 2 counters on it, which gives me access to the second effect. Quick effect, you can remove 1 counter from this card. Special summon 1 level 4 or lower insect from your graveyard in defense position. The best target for this card is the copy of Sting the Poison, because you special summon Sting the Poison from the graveyard in defense position at the start of your opponent's turn, and then that can help turn off their Searcher, whatever Stratos-like card they have. You could turn that off immediately by tributing another insect on your side of the field, which is awesome because it doesn't even give them the option to react to it, because you could do it in the draw phase, standby phase, whatever. Next up, we have, this is a little bit different than some other people's extra decks. I have 1 copy of Hanma the Conquering Bow, Battle Wasp, Hanma the Conquering Bow, and 1 copy of Battle Wasp Azusa the Ghost Bow. These cards are really cool because I've found that I've been caught sometimes with a tuner and a level 3 or whatever, or a tuner and 2 level 3s, and these cards are just kind of good for winning in time or like burning the opponent in some way. Azusa the Ghost Bow, specifically, she says when your opponent takes effect damage from another Battle Wasp monster, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack of that monster. You can only use this effect of Azusa once per turn, and then when a monster is destroyed by battle with your Battle Wasp monster, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field. So that gives you the ability to burn the opponent again, like, so say you use her in a level 3 to make Hanma the Conquering Bow, and then you use his effect to burn, she'll revive herself, and then if you're able to burn with a pin the Bullseye, she'll do an extra 200 damage as well. If you don't like these, you can obviously cut them, but I'd rather have them than not. They do come up sometimes. And then Hanma the Conquering Bow, he's kind of cool. He says, if this card was synchro summoned using a synchro monster as material, which would usually be Azusa, it can make a second attack during each battle phase. You can only use each of the following effects of Hanma the Conquering Bow once per turn. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can make all monsters your opponent currently controls lose 1,000 attack and defense. So, the thing about this is, I wish that wasn't a once per turn because he has the double attack effect, but unfortunately it is. So you can say your opponent has a 3,000 attack point monster and then something with anything less than 2,800. If you attack the monster with less than 2,800 after using Azusa to summon him, you're able to run over the first monster, and then because you dealt battle damage to your opponent, you'll be able to take 1,000 points off the second monster and lower its attack. So then you're able to run him over with your second attack, or it over with your second attack, which is a really cool way to clear an opponent's board of problematic monsters after baiting some negates. The last effect he has is at the end of the battle phase, if your opponent has not taken any battle damage, you can inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Battle Wasp monster in your graveyard. That's usually not that much, but if it's in the late game, you can get some pretty sizable burn damage, like with a couple copies of Pin the Bullseye or Twinbow or Arbalest, and then a copy of Azusa. That's a lot of burn damage, and then Azusa, if she's on the field, like if she had come back or whatever, you also deal burn damage equal to his original attack, which could be enough to close out game, because 2,800 is not a little bit. Real quick, these are the cards in the side deck. Red Reboot, third copy of Flying Sting, 3 Twin Twister, 3 Forbidden Chalice, 1 Called by the Grave, an extra copy of Goku Pull, 2 copies of Contact C, 2 copies of Kumungus, and 1 copy of Pankratops. Sorry they're not sleeved, but I had them in other decks. Well, most of them in other decks. Anyway, that's been it for my BeeTrooper profile. Go ahead and leave a comment down below if you'd like to see another deck profile. I was actually working on a post-ban list version of my Drytron deck. However, they barely got hit, so I will go ahead and say what the change is in that deck. Take out the 1 copy of Eva. Okay? Cool. I've been Devin. This is Baka Burrito. You guys have been awesome, so I'll catch you on the next one.
What exactly is your relationship to that woman?
Wait a minute, this isn't about...
Are you her little bed bug?